There are 3 unique one-handed axes and 3 unique maces in AVOWED, which both give the options of dealing huge amounts of stun and absolutely demolishing your foes. Maybe not best for dual wielding, as I'll explain a bit later, but let's get into the video today. Find this useful, leave a like. My name's Jade, let's go. So perhaps one of the best actual axes out of the 3 is Drawn in Winter, and it's the earliest one you can get. You will have a mission, so it's really hard to miss this heading over to the Watcher's Mirror. But you'd be surprised, actually you could potentially miss it. Once you've gained your godlike ability, I actually turned round and totally didn't pick up the axe that was suddenly spawning in the middle of this little pond. No clue why, I just totally ignored it and went about my way and didn't realise till about 6 hours later that actually, sugar, I could have got myself a really powerful axe. But as soon as you do pick it up, you will be attacked by a whole bunch of skeletons, and they can be pretty challenging in early game, so you can just grab the axe and make a run for it. Apart from the usual kind of resources you might get from these guys, there's no other real reason to fight them. Yeah, just grab the axe and run like Forest. So power attacks with this bad boy will deal frost accumulation to nearby enemies, and each hit will deal 10% bonus frost damage. Enchanting it will deal even more frost accumulation to nearby enemies, or like a lot of one-handed melee weapons, if you parry you'll deal more frost accumulation. Maybe not so good by the time you get that axe when you go over to the Emerald Stairs, as a lot of spoilings are obviously resistant, as well as a lot of spectres. But for sure, if you're determined to be a one-handed axe wielder, this is something you should absolutely upgrade all the way through to endgame. Frost in general is just such a good debuff for slowing down enemies and just doing a lot of damage. Next up, to the Emerald Stairs and to the south, just pretty much by the logging camp. Can't really miss it if you just go along the coast. There's a few of the demigons, and well as maybe some of the weird blights and stuff, so look out for them. But otherwise in this small wooded grove you'll find the woodman's labour. So yeah, just slightly north of where it says the logging camp, just here. As said, there might be a few of the blights and the demigons, so again early game, well mid-early game like this, I would say it's pretty challenging. This one doing a full combo attack will create area effect that damages nearby enemies, and 15% attack damage against beasts and primordials. So honestly, really good by the time you get to Galawain's Tusk to deal with all the Zurips. If you enchant it, you'll add stun to the high attack damage, or you can add killing an enemy with a power attack restores stamina. And then the last one-handed axe is in the 4th zone, Galawain's Tusk, in the Slumbering Fields all the way to the southwest. You can make your life a bit easier by completing with the quest that you'll come across here, effectively turning this acid water into just regular. There's a few little bodies to loot in these pools near some of this stuff, and if you swim all the way through you'll gain access to this area, although there are other ways to get here too. Again, I will show it properly on the map. That cave on the right hand side is where we're going to be heading, as it's the only way up to this area with a tree and one of the memories, which does give you 10% attack damage. Here's the exact location on the map. And this is you gain access to lumbering fields across the lava there. You may need to bring some of the ice grenades if you don't have a weapon that can cause ice on the lava flow. When you go through it, there will be some spiders as well as some spectres, pretty high level ones, so look out for that too. And then yeah, you've got the power. Now it's really easy to miss the axe because it's really not that obvious. It actually only just shows up if you really go close to the tree itself. So I reckon a load of people haven't even realised that there is this weapon right here. And it was legendary for me, but do remember it depends what level you are for some of this stuff. There's a lower threshold, but the higher threshold can be achieved if you've got a weapon that high too. And it's pretty much the shock version of the frost axe. You'll do 10% with each hit, and then a full combo attack will deal low shock accumulation to nearby enemies. And of course if you go ahead and enchant it, that increases, but you'll also then be able to go and choose the other option, which is a power attack, does shock accumulation. But that is to only one enemy. And yeah, it does the trick. You got anything that adds ice to it as well. You can really immobilize a lot of enemies while dealing huge amounts of stun. But not as much as you get with the maces. And that leads us on to these. So maces are great for stun abilities. Really good, especially obviously you pair it with a shield and getting that extra defense in. I wouldn't necessarily run with 2 maces though. Dual wielding anything like the axes or the maces just isn't as effective as it is with either swords or absolutely the best daggers. Both simply just use up way too much stamina and are too slow to really utilise in that way. But yeah, maces, absolutely if you're going for stun builds, I think are really valuable. But the first unique mace that you can pick up won't be available until you get to Fjord in the Emerald Stairs. But be warned, there is an opportunity at some point in Fjord that some of these traders won't be available. I've done a complete video explaining what happens to Fjord and the steps that you can do to stop things happening, trying to not leave too many spoilers here. But do go and watch that video if you really want to make sure that you can access all the traders. Otherwise you might only get access to one of them and it won't necessarily have all of the gear that you need after a certain point in the story. The bottom line, don't complete the Ancient Soil quest until you've completed the Steel Garrote Resolve quest. But as I said, more details on the video that I've done. So yes, this merchant won't necessarily be here after a certain point in the story, so do go and make sure you check out some of the unique stuff if you want to check it out and buy it. And it does exactly what you would expect a mace to do. Maces, I think, are like the second best item you can use for stun in the game. A power attack with lodestone will deal stun to nearby enemies, and you do get an additional 20% stun as well. Enchanting it and you'll get more stun done, moderate stun to nearby enemies, or a successful parry actually slows an enemy down and roots them in place for 4 seconds, making this more one of the unique kind of parry enchantment buffs. So the second one is the Star of Unbeing, and it is part of the main quest line in Shatterscarp. In fact, I'm pretty sure you can't access this dungeon and get this mace until you are ready to go and do this main quest. It's called Shadows of the Past, and it will direct you to the north where you can see some strange goings on with these ruins. This isn't a full guide for this dungeon, it's simply quite large and you'll have to go and take on a bunch of the Dream Scourge, as well as interact with a whole bunch of ghostly spectres that are going to give you some trials to complete. Just do remember to bring Yatsli with you. In fact, you might have to, as her spells are the only way to access certain places. As said, you'll come across a spectral being and he'll give you the first trial, and this is after you've completed this, when you can go and pick up the mace. It's quite lengthy. You'll know you're in the right spot when you see this statue, and effectively the exit out of that first trial, you should notice the mace sitting on a special plinth or altar just to your left when you come out of the dungeon. It's absolutely easily missed, and then you might not actually get a chance to come back here, as I'm pretty sure once you do leave you might not be able to head back. The end of these trials ends with just more and more Dream Scourge attacking you, and the idea is that you just make a run for it. You're not meant to stay there and fight every single one after you've completed all the trials. Good for poison builds with high stun, as power attacks will deal high poison accumulation. A successful special attack casts Pool of the Aura, which is a really powerful spell that you don't actually unlock until level 20 in the mage tree. It will make enemies rise, but of course that's the special attack once you've got an enemy stun all the way up to full. Enchantment option number 1 is dealing poison accumulation to nearby enemies, or killing an enemy creates a lingering area effect that deals high poison accumulation to nearby enemies. So basically just leaves a pool of poison. I've got to say, there's quite a few enemies, particularly obviously the skeletons and some of the calamities, that are going to be heavily resistant or completely resistant to poison. Not to mention a bunch of spiders too. I do think this is kind of weak sauce. So the final mace can be found in Galawain's Tusk. You need to complete Marius's mission effectively, or quest, to go ahead and access it. It's all the way in the northeast, the Lost Village. It will be guarded by a quite heavy amount of Zurips on the way. And do make sure you bring Marius with you. He might be a bit reluctant, but I'm pretty sure you're meant to, as it's part of these origin stories. You'll come across ruins of a village. There's a whole bunch of other loot and stuff to take a look at. Make sure you pick up the amulet necklace, which you're guided to, and then go ahead and talk to one of the lost villagers. I'm not going to spoil the story or anything really with Marius here, but you are on the hunt for someone else, and you can go ahead and find them in the Lost Caverns. And just a little side note, in this room here there's a lock chest, 5 lockpicks needed to open it. It'll give you a massive 50 essence maximum gain ring. But yeah, here we go on the map again, northeast, just in case. It is a bit of a trek all the way from the Solace Keep, and of course all the way from the south from where you enter. But you should more or less pick this quest up immediately when you start going into Galawain's Tusk and talk to him. And there's actually 2 ways to get into this place. You can actually do a parkour jump off from the actual lost village and then kind of shimmy your way up here. This is actually the way that you come down. It's like the second exit out of the place. So you can actually use this to just skip ahead and really go and get the mace a lot quicker. So yeah, just keep clambering up. As I said, this is the way that you're meant to come down to get out of this dungeon. But yeah, it was a sneaky way that I found. Hop onto this small tiny ledge, and if you don't fall off, you can then do another jump onto the platform here. Run around, there'll be some more small loot in this purple chest, and then there'll be the entrance to the caverns where you can take on the boss and then get hold of the mace. So the way you're meant to go is keep wandering down from the Lost Village through this little chasm, and then you'll take on a boss calamity, which would give you one of the Ardra bands. But do note, it is pretty powerful for sure. And then you've got a series of caves and networks to go through with lava and a few other secrets and hints, so make sure you bring plenty of lockpicks to get through certain gates or find other ways through. Or as said, do what I did, do the parkour jump route and go through the back door. You'll talk to perhaps someone who has the responsibility for killing all of the villagers. Once he's taken care of, and I'll leave that for you to decide, go and explore some of these rooms and you find the battletrance mace. This is a really odd one. It's got 20% plus ability cast speed, so really designed to be as a battle mage, or of course using some of your other casts as well. Flurry of blows could be a really good one. Power attacks will do 15% extra speed for 10 seconds and restore a small amount of health for you and your companions. Enchanting it increases the power attacks to 30%, as well as the other option, a full combo attack gives you 5% damage reduction for 10 seconds. I'd say choose the first one. And yeah, it's pretty effective. Obviously maces are incredibly OP for giving a good amount of stun. Maybe not as much as axes or hammers, but still relatively decent, especially for people that want to use a shield, or like I said, maybe going with a spell mage option with a tome, or maybe a wand. And there you go, that is all the one-handed axes and maces that you can get, unique ones in AVOWED. Let me know which one of them is your favourite, what you're going to be rocking, what have you been using. Until next time, RATBAGGERS, go and check out the rest of my AVOWED guides, and I'll see you later.